So here I am at the store again and kind of bored, but luckily this time I actually have something to keep me amused. Because before I came to the store today, I actually went to a local comic and collectible and toys show. And my goal was to find a few toys I haven't been able to find, some NECAs and things like that, and that didn't pan out. But I did find something else that I wasn't even really looking for originally, but then when I saw rows and rows and rows of comic boxes, I thought, you know what, I'll just poke around and see if I can find it, and I did, which is the original 1968 Gold Key King Kong comic. Now, I've talked about the morass, the dog's breakfast, that is the King Kong copyright before. We're going to jump into the story 1962, because that is when John Beck took Willis O'Brien's idea for a King Kong versus Frankenstein movie, sold it to Toho, where it was produced, without Willis O'Brien's knowledge, into King Kong versus Godzilla. Also done without the knowledge of Merian C. Cooper, and it came as quite a surprise to him, because he was certain that he owned the copyright on King Kong. Like, it was his idea, and he'd licensed it to RKO to make the original 1933 film. So quite a shock to him when he found out that RKO was licensing it out to make King Kong versus Godzilla and to make the Aurora model kits and the Rankin Bass cartoon later on and all that sort of stuff. So legal action ensues, and at the end of it, because Cooper had misplaced various key documents that he needed to establish his actual ownership, the court settles on Cooper only owns the story idea as published in the 1932 novelization. So the novelization by D. Lovelace, which I have done a video of before, whichever side is going to appear on here. So Cooper now is that's the only thing he's got, and now he can license out stories based on that particular thing, on that novelization, which is now public domain, incidentally, because Cooper didn't renew the copyright on it. Not exactly a detail guy as far as maintaining his copyrights is concerned. Now, one of the things he licensed out was this 1968 King Kong comic by Gold Key, a purveyor of all the finest media tie-in comics from the 1960s. To situate this again in sort of King Kong fandom, right? So you have like sort of the first phase, which is the 1933 film, the original novelization, Son of Kong, the golden age of Hollywood, and all of the various sort of homages and copycats and satires and things like that. Then you have the sort of mid-century King Kong, starting with King Kong versus Godzilla, the Aurora model kits, the Rankin Bass cartoon, King Kong Escapes, and this comic right here. And then on it goes. But right now we're looking at the comic here, which kind of falls at the end of that sort of mid-century Kong fandom, right? Because after this, then you get into the 70s, you get the 76 version of Kong, and everything that it inspired. And in fact, this comic was reprinted as a movie tie-in comic for the 1976 version. But we're going to look at this, and maybe we'll read along. Maybe I'll just talk about the differences. Haven't decided yet. We'll see how long it takes, because this is a honkin' comic. This is a 52-page comic right here that I'm holding in my hot little hands for the first time. Rather thick number there. And you can't smell it, but you know that smell that old comics have, that kind of ink and wood pulpy smell. This has got it for sure. But wonderful cover there, which in fact has the blank on the back. Well, it says King Kong pin up right there. So I guess in theory you're supposed to strip the cover off the back here and post it up alongside your King Kong model kit there above your bookshelf as a kid in the 60s. Glad that whoever owned this did not do that. I actually got it for quite a reasonable price as well, I think. I mean, I'm not up to snuff on exactly how much these are worth, but what I've seen, I think I got it for a reasonable price. The guy who sold it to me did inform me it's not like a perfect copy. That is fine. I don't care. It survived, and now I have a copy for my collection. So let's take a boo at this here, shall we? All right, here we are. Now I'm actually not gonna read out the whole thing because that would take too long because this is again 52 pages. This is a thick boy, THICC. And it'd be a little bit tedious to read the whole thing, but we are going to flip through it and just have a look at maybe some of what's similar, what's different, some lovely art in there. I'm sorry, I don't know the name of the artist offhand, and these Gold Key comics didn't tend to share who the artist was. Um, Copyright stuff down here, including copyright 1968 by Miriam C. Cooper, copyright 1932 by Grosset Dunlap, copyright renewed and assigned to Miriam C. Cooper. So that's that story of the copyright. Miriam C. Cooper's copyrights there. But, starting off the way that King Kong does, that's Carl Denham, which is not looking at all like Robert Armstrong. So they're making sure not to infringe any copyright there. And meeting with Anne, who is looking quite modern for 68, which is something I'll talk about that in a second because I'm just distracted by this map right here, which I find super interesting because, okay, most versions of Kong, and most people conceive of Kong as being somewhere in the South Pacific, right? Polynesia, tropical islands, tiki, and all that sort of stuff. And that's actually my personal preference as well. If I place Skull Island anywhere, it's in the South Pacific. However, in the 1933 film, 32 novel, it's actually south of India. It's beyond Sumatra, which is like the most exotic sounding thing they could come up with. And I'm not sure the distance is involved, but coming from New York, it would actually make more sense to cross the Atlantic, go around Africa, and then come up to Sumatra that way. But this passing through the Panama Canal, so you're going past this stage here on. Then you got this populated area here, and then past Sumatra into like Terra Incognita, which granted just south of India, but beyond Sumatra sounds a little more romantic, I guess. And speaking of romantic, this version retains the love scene in the crow's nest, a little abbreviated version because this is a Gold Key comic, but I did think I mentioned this in my talking about the differences between the book and the movie, that the crow's nest scene is way more romantic than what was actually in the movie. In the movie, they're on deck and Jack is all goes, "I love you, man." Whereas in the crow's nest, you get this lovely romantic scene at sunset with Jack admitting his unrequited love for Anne. A way better scene that I think would have actually improved the movie if it had been in there. But on we go, talking about the island, which apparently has a giant wall all across half of it, as opposed to just a little spit of it. There they go. They've got to Skull Island, and they're going aboard on the island. Got the gas bombs. Here we go. And okay, this is what I was talking about. Look how modern Anne looks. Like, this is supposed to take place in the 30s. It says here at the beginning that it takes place during the Depression of the 30s. Or is it here? Yeah. During the Depression of the 30s, an old tramp freighter, the Wanderer, which is from the book, adventure in the movie, is set to embark on a desperate adventure. But she's looking quite modern. She's looking very 60s here amidst these guys. And granted, men's fashion is quite conservative in general, so this could be set to 1968 and would probably be still mostly accurate. But then she's looking quite modern compared to the 1930s. Anyways, they get to there, they see the ceremony. On it goes. We have sort of the fake tribal language. They want the girl. Really ticked off about it. And they say that we'll come back another day when you guys calm down a little bit. Let's get the girl off the island for her safety right now. Yada, yada, yada. And then, and they come and they kidnap Anne. Here we go. Find the necklace. And they're running off to the island to try and find her. Taking her. See, all this stuff is, crosses over with the movie quite well, the novelization. because the novel was based on the sort of last draft of script before they actually shot the thing and had to filter out some scenes and whatever. But here's our modern looking Anne. That could very well be Gwen Stacy with the black band there. And Kong appears. Dun dun dun. And takes her off. And guns a-blazing, trying to rescue her, but the guns have no effect on Kong. So now they have to go out and rescue her, chasing after. Going up the waterfall. Get to the top, yeah. So again, following the novel, right, which is what this is based on. So finding the waterfall, going up the ravine that it creates to get to the top of the plateau, and encountering a Stegosaurus, which they're ineffective at. Throwing the gas bombs, heads up everyone, blah. And down it goes, and a brutal execution of the Stegosaurus there. King Kong. All right, we've reached the lake, creating the raft. Just want to warn you guys, maybe more than we bargained for. If anyone wants to turn back, now's the time. Heck no, they all say immediately before they die. We go and monster. Oh, interesting. So they change it from a Brontosaurus to an Elasmosaurus, which actually makes a lot more sense for the lake, as far as the paleontology of it is concerned. Here we go. Oh no, the bombs are lost. The Elasmosaurus has destroyed the raft. Oh no, somebody's been drowned. Better than getting eaten by a Brontosaurus, I guess. And oh, we found Kong again. And Triceratops. Yeah, so they got in the Triceratops scene. So in the novel, there's this whole episode of what happens before the spider pit, where Kong fights some Triceratops in a tar pit. And he kills a bunch of them, and then one of them is enraged, and it chases the sailors onto the log above the spider pit, and then they're trapped there by between Kong and the Triceratops. And that whole Triceratops sequence was taken out for the movie, and they did film a Styracosaurus trapping them on the log, but then they took that out as well. So the men just kind of like stay on the log because they're paralyzed with fear. But this version keeps the Triceratops, which is cool. Appreciate that. Off they go, crossing the ravine. Oh, and now we get the Styracosaurus that's trapping them. So now a random Styracosaurus comes from nowhere and chases them onto the log. And now Kong's trapped them on the other side. There they go. Help, help, aye. And Kong picks up the log, knocks all the sailors off, and we don't see them falling. We don't see their death, and we don't see the spiders. So even this book, this comic, doesn't have the spider pit sequence in it. That is interesting. I wonder if that was too gruesome for the comic, because it's ostensibly a comic for kids, or if maybe they took it out because it wasn't in the movie, so why put it in this comic adaptation, right? Because typically speaking, adaptations of the novelization are kind of like covert adaptations of the movie. They're just adapting the only public domain thing they can that's closest to the movie until the movie becomes public domain in 2029. So, I mean, as a sort of a covert adaptation of the movie, maybe just didn't include the spider pit. But it did include Triceratops. So, but maybe they had to do that because otherwise it would have been too close to the movie. Who knows? Anyways, interesting that they didn't include the spider pit sequence in this comic. Either way. But we do get Jack and Denim surviving, and Kong getting distracted by the T-Rex, starting the big fight. Here. Oof. Lots of description. One thing that I actually admire about old comics is how dense they are, because I've seen the Kong the Great War comic. I flipped through it at the comic shop, and there was like 5 pages of actual content in it. I opted not to buy it because nothing happened in the entire comic. It was just a lot of like splash pages and full page panels and stuff like that. Whereas like these old comics are so dense, like there's so much happening in every panel. If you ever try to read an old Superman comic, like an original Superman comic, it's like all dialogue. It's all these like dense panels of talking. And yeah, we're covering this at a pretty fair clip going on here. Super dense with art and narrative over the like just sort of virtuoso splash pages and stuff like that. So I do appreciate that about old comics as well. And in this version, instead of the Elasmosaurus or snake or whatever it is sneaking up on Kong inside Skull Mountain, we have that Kong being uneasy about knowing something is lurking in the black water beneath him, which is from the novelization. There. So there's the fight. Okay, so they got it with a snake here. And this is where, would have been fine crossing over as a licensed comic or whatever, tie-in comic with the 76 version, is that this is fully definitely a snake right here, not an elasmosaur or whatever, which is what they had in the 76 film. There we go. Kong's dispatched with that. Now he climbs up to Skull Mountain. And here comes the Pteranodon to distract Kong while Jack comes and saves her. And off they go into the black water. Thankfully, Kong killed that snake. Kong's going after them. Down the waterfall. And into the river. Ah, okay. So they kept this part as well. Because, the movie, being a movie, has to abbreviate things. So it's just, they run through the forest, boom, they're back. Whereas the novelization, because it's less adept at action, it fills out with a narrative scene of Jack and Anne drifting down the river and fleshing out their relationship some more. And here we get this hybrid version. It's shortened from the novel, but they still have this scene of them just floating down the river, getting back to the village while Kong is pursuing them. Back to the village. All right, we gotta get out of here, guys. But oh no, here comes King Kong. Crash. Oh no. And whoa, they're busting through. Everyone's running. Oh my god, you angered our god. Thanks, white man. Smashing through things. And Denim gets the bright idea to use the gas bombs. And even though I was talking about how, this is narratively dense, but you still get these nice mix of panel shapes and sizes and so on, so you get a big scene when you need it. Boom, boom, and Kong is going down. And that is a memeable picture right there. Somebody meme that. Kong going down. Oh, to the ship in a steel chamber. No chain will hold that. Fear will hold him. You see, we've got the biggest capture of the world. People pay millions to see him. King Kong, the 8th wonder of the world. You missed the last part of the line there. So now we're back in New York at the corner of Times and Times. No, Broadway and... At the corner of Broadway and Broadway. Okay. I don't know how New York works. Is that an actual street corner? But here we go, Kong, the 8th wonder. Everyone is getting ready, but they're not too thrilled. Okay. And in her sheer 1960s evening gown. Ta-da. Kong, ladies and gentlemen, and they have Kong in the cage, as he is in the novelization, rather than being crucified on film. Ta-da. Oh no, he's going free. He's busted his chain. He's breaking out of the cage. Run. No, snap.
My hotel is across the street. Okay, cool. They include that line about how Kong was able to I find Anne so easily is because they're staying at the hotel across the street from the theater. So Kong didn't have far to go to find his quarry. They apparently took out the scene where sort of their neighbor in the next room over gets taken by Kong and thrown out the window because she's not Anne. So they took that part out of the novel and streamlined it so that we have Kong finding Anne and climbing up the Empire State Building, not to scale there, presumably. Let's reach the top. There we go. What do we do? Oh no, get the planes. That, again, not to scale, but that is not a bad scale for Kong. Make him actually visible on top of the man-made mountain of the Empire State Building. And the planes doing their thing. Puts Anne down. Oh, that's almost a replica of the that one movie poster where you see Kong sort of from the side there. I'll put it in here now, I guess. And here we go. A nice big panel. Kong versus the airplanes. Smashing things up. Flaming to a fiery death. Ooh. Okay. What do we do? Oh no. Well. Oh, Jack is being a man of action here. Come back, you fool. Grabbing Anne again. Oh, Kong sees them. So Jack has a more active role here in actually saving Anne rather than just sort of standing there while the planes do it for him. Nice, but now Kong is like, oh man, my girl, and that distracts him long enough for them to get the shots in. And oh no, Kong bounces down off the Empire State Building. And here we reach those final lines. The planes did it. They killed Kong. The planes didn't do it. It wasn't the planes that got King Kong. What? As always, it was beauty killed the beast. And dun 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 dun, there we go. A king in his own world, a captive in civilization, but the strongest chains, the heaviest bars can hold mighty Kong. Only thing can tame him, the strange attraction he feels for a beautiful girl. So, there we go. There are scans of this comic online, so if you're interested in actually reading it, as opposed to this sort of flipping through it that we did, you can do that. But yeah, here we go. So that is the Gold Key, the famous Gold Key King Kong comic that I finally been able to add to my collection here. Finding it today at a local comic and toy show, and glad to have it. This neat piece of mid-century King Kong nostalgia. I should do a video sometime on sort of the different phases of King Kong fandom here. But this is definitely that mid-century phase of King Kong fandom. 1968, comic licensed for Merian C. Cooper, adapting the original 1932 novelization by Delos Lovelace. Great little thing for my collection, and now that goes into my Kong cabinet. All right, found a place for it. And just do another update on my whole Kong collection. Not much has changed since last time. There's the comic hidden right there in the back, in the dark, because I am aware of the potential flight damage. It's supposed to be behind the X pluses there, and my custom Terror of Mondo Island there. Some other random Kongs, my Imperials, and there, NECA McFarlane, my Mechanicong. I still only have 2 of the plushes though. Still got to get the other 2. Statue, the Fay Ray book, Fay Ray Barbie, King Kong Cola. Found some of that. And there we go. So that's my Kong stuff, and the giant hands, of course. But yeah, there we go. Finally added that to enshrine that in my Kongtorium, my King Kong collection there.